and welcome to today's special edition of the Research Sofa. I'm here today with Tammy from Manchester Mental Health Foundation Trust, who's going to talk to you a bit about the work that she's been doing with people with severe mental health. So I'll pass you over to Tammy. Can you tell us a little bit about the work that you've been doing recently?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, I was working within the Integrated Care Organisation in Salford. So that was with the Acute Trust, Salford Royal, and Greater Manchester Mental Health Trust and other partners. Part of my role there was an operational role, and I wrote a project initiation development document and submitted that, and that project was very much to integrate into primary care across Salford and to focus on SMI and physical healthcare and how we can reduce that gap and just really go into primary care with an open mind and some learning for partners. So that's how that kind of started.
And so once it started, what have you been doing in terms of that project?
So in terms of that project, we had a small team of different professionals who engaged primary care. So our objectives at that time were to, I suppose, really a public health message about clarity of esteem, working with primary care to learn a little bit about their approach to SMI and physical health care, to integrate not just with general practice, but to learn a little bit about what community assets were available, how it all connected, and to kind of share that learning. So, you know, the aim was obviously to improve people's outcomes who have SMI and require a physical health check. We wanted to improve engagement with people in their physical health care in primary care. We provided a data cleanse of the SMI register in general practice, and through reviewing the SMI register, there was just lots of learning there, what we could share and feed back. We wanted to build on what was already, we felt, a good level of communication across primary and secondary care. And we wanted to really close that gap and work together with a group of vulnerable people. And I guess we really wanted to utilise all the strengths in the system and really look at how that connects and how we offer health checks and interventions. So they were the outcomes. There was lots of learning.
Yeah.
There was lots of learning. And I think one of the most positive learning from my point of view was really opening our eyes to all those community resources. So we really did develop and build on relationships with, in Salford, it's Health Improvement. We have a Wellbeing Matters programme and community connectors who socially prescribe. So often when you see people who engage in that physical health check, you may open up conversations, discover that maybe they are a little bit isolated, and there's room for us all to work together to improve people's outcomes. So yeah, there was definitely learning about different strengths. We learned that, you know, general practice, it's not necessarily uniformed. So you really have to engage with each individual practice and work with them, which was absolutely fine. There were some really good areas of practice across Salford. So we really championed those good areas and really kind of raised that. So people were aware that, you know, some practices did have specific staff around mental health who were trained and skilled in that area, which was really great. So yeah, lots of learning around that. We obviously learned about the people who were engaging and maybe what the barriers were to engagement. And did they understand what the offer was around physical healthcare and why that's important to have that physical health check? So there was a piece of work really around how to engage people in the physical health check. There was some learning around educational needs across primary care. There was some learning around Greater Manchester Mental Health and the level of communication to GPs and back and forth, and how we could build and develop that. And then we just developed a good practice guide to engaging people in physical health checks, and what we felt was a really good way to do that, with lots of tips and hints that we shared. And we also have in Greater Manchester Mental Health an e-learning pack for physical healthcare, and we shared that. So there was a lot of sharing of information and learning. And I guess there was some unexpected learning, if I'm honest. So we did learn that there was a small amount of people who were being seen by 2 services, so a little bit of duplication going on. How can we reduce that? There was a group of people who may have been falling between service, and again, how do we prevent that? So there was a lot of learning and a lot of work what took place in the 12 months of this project. But it was really exciting and really great to meet people and learn about what was out there in Salford.
It sounds like it's a really good project, and and you learned a lot and developed some new ways of working together to achieve the outcomes. And what would you say, if you had to say, what were the key tips that you'd pass on to other people?
I think, in terms of primary care, it's quite a large kind of system. There's lots of different individual practices. So really that engagement with them is really, I found it just really helped going into practice, and really not kind of going through forums and meetings, really getting in with the GPs and the workforce, and that face-to-face kind of walking in, talking about that offer. So yeah, that engagement's really important, and that's just something to consider. I think, working around a more standardized offer for physical healthcare, and looking at what those parameters are, and looking at where the gaps are, but also looking at what's around. So in primary care, what I found was, in the room next to me was, a chap who might be working with a health improvement team. Well, what a great connection that is for smoking cessation, weight management, health improvement. How are we going to work together with individuals who want to kind of who are seeking support? So it was really making connections and looking at how we coordinate that and kind of work more in partnership for better outcomes. So that was, some of the key tips really around that.
Yeah, so ensuring engagement and then building partnerships, creating networks.
Yes, absolutely. It was very much a focus on building those partnerships, building those relationships, working together with individuals. We did that. So we did engage people in the smoking cessation program. We did engage people in weight management programs. Not just people, often it could have been families.
Yeah.
The whole family might want to then participate. So there was a lot of educational work across services, learning a little bit about each other. Again, that was all just to enhance that offer. And again, just always thinking about reducing that gap and improving people's outcomes with their physical health and mental health. So that was the focus.
Yeah, so what would you say are the next steps in terms of going forward?
So our key outcomes really from the project was that we did provide general practice with a comprehensive, up-to-date SMI register. We did cleanse that, we did provide that. So I guess going forward, we shared some of the learning around that in terms of how you review that register and make sure it's the right people on there and you're targeting the right group. So we did lots of sharing around that. We talked and shared around all the partners and assets, so everyone knew what was available in terms of, offering interventions. It's not just about doing that test, it's what's next, isn't it? So there's one element around engaging people in that physical health check, but the next step is what are the interventions then to support people? So we was really trying to make that connection. We definitely built on communication. That was a very good outcome, excellent partnership working. And I guess what's next is since this project, we established a collaborative in Salford, and we have gone to develop a service known as Living Well. And I don't know if you have any knowledge around Living Well, but it's a new community offer. It's integrated into primary care, as well as having all those connections, obviously, with your secondary care services. And I guess fundamentally to the programme is co-production, co-design, lived experience, amplifying lived experience voices, really learning about that population need, and then obviously looking at how best we meet that need. And that has been through a partnership model and a partnership alliance. So we are, since the original project around SMI and physical healthcare, we've been on certainly I have been on a real learning journey that has formed part of this large collaborative, all services coming together to look at how we improve access to mental health services, how we integrate, and how we work in partnership with others. So I would just say watch this space, because Living Well is really, it's really developing, and it's something that is now happening across Greater Manchester Mental Health Trust. So it might be that at some point I come back and tell you about that. But it's been very much about networking, connections, working together collaboratively, really bringing in that co-design and co-production and listening to people with lived experience. So big learning curve for me, but it's been really enjoyable.
Well, thanks for telling us about this. It just sounds like an excellent project, and looking forward to hearing more about Living Well and how it sounds so good.
Yeah, it is. It's been there's lots of sharing to do around, lots of learning, but happy to share that at some point.
Thanks very much, and thanks for joining us today.
Okay, thank you so much.